Oh, I didn't do my opening. We're live. I have an opening that usually plays a video. I don't know what happened, but anyways, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics. Super excited to talk to Slavik and Jack. They reached out to me with this awesome comic book called The Daily Mobster, and I had a blast checking it out. So I want to thank both of you for giving me an early preview of what's to come. A lot of fun, and I think you're doing something quite unique, specifically from an art perspective, that really separates you from a lot of other stuff that I'm reading in the comic industry. And I have a feeling that's going to really bode well for both of you. But before we jump into that, I would love to ask how both of you are doing.
Pretty good.
Thank you for having
Doing
us.
well. Thank you for having us. It's exciting to have this finally out in the world. It's been a process working on this. So, yeah, doing well.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine. So maybe we could jump right in. You guys have such an amazing history. I was looking at some of the, you Google your names, and all of a sudden some of my favorite movies pop up: Spider-Man: No Way Home, Transformers, G.I. Joe. Like, it goes on and on. Ben 10. Like, there's all kinds of crazy things that you've all worked on within the Hollywood. I would love to know what that experience was like. And then I would love to kind of move into why comic books, because it seems like you've been so successful in the Hollywood side with some of these really heavy hitting movies. Can you kind of walk us through that process?
Yeah, Slavik and I actually met in the visual effects industry, 2006 or late five. I moved out to LA late five specifically for animation visual effects. We both landed at a company called Digital Domain, which was founded by James Cameron, to basically do Titanic, and then it kind of...
You got to mention Scott Ross, otherwise.
Sorry, Scott Ross.
James Cameron, Scott Ross, Stan Winston, and there was
that's
one
right,
other person.
Stan Winston. Yeah, so it was founded by those guys to effectively create Titanic, and then Titanic did so well, and the effects won so many awards that the studio just grew and grew and grew. My first gig was a little film called My Super Ex-Girlfriend. Slavik, what was your first one?
It was Flags of Our Fathers. So,
oh yeah, the Clint Eastwood one. Yeah.
So at that time, it was 3 shows at the company, and there was another show called Zoom, which was the worst thing ever because it was a movie with Tim Allen that completely bombed, and so you were on the second best one, but I think Flags probably was the best show. It probably is the best film that I ever worked on. It was the first film that I ever worked on. So,
really?
Yes.
Yes, we both came in as artists. I started just because my demo reel happened to have some hair fur cloth simulation on it, and at the time that was very new and not a lot of folks were doing it. I actually got hired into the simulation department. So I started there, and then I kind of evolved into animation, which is what I had always kind of wanted to do. And then I discovered previs, which Slavik can talk a lot more about. He's got a lot more experience in previs. And really, that's kind of where I discovered storytelling. I was like, oh my God, this is what I was doing when I was 12 years old, and this is actually how to do it. And that has really come into play big time here. So I was at Digital Domain for just shy of 10 years, like a month shy of 10 years. And then I went to DreamWorks Animation for a while, where I worked in series television. I directed some TV episodes, animation directed. And then I moved to Netflix, just finished on the Twits, which released this year. Yeah. And now I'm on I don't think I can say what I'm on.
Yeah, be careful. We don't want to get
a very large tentpole series at Netflix. So it's been a good ride.
Yeah, I guess if you like cards, you might like the series.
No.
Hey, I didn't say it.
How about you? That's right. I don't have an NDA, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
You have to you don't know each other after this.
It was really nice, just kind of like how everything came to be, because Jack and I, when we first met, we really weren't friendly. Not that we were not friendly, but there was a slight animosity there, and I don't know how. And then Jack invited me to his house for card games, like board games with friends, and that's how our friendship spawned. And I feel like I've been incredibly lucky to find such a great friend in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is not known, a place where you go to meet friends. It's known as a place to you can make enemies here really easily, right? But really, a lot of people are trying to make it in their industry. A lot of actresses, actors, writers, directors, and so we became friends. And I was also working on films at that time. I kind of went from animation to previs a lot earlier than Jack did, and that's because I was really inspired by early PlayStation 1 video games. So for me, PlayStation 1 was like, I don't know, like an epiphany in my life where all these games that told these amazing stories were released. Probably one of the biggest games that made a big impact was Blood and Omen Legacy of Kain.
Oh yeah.
And I just remember the experience of this, cinematic uh, storytelling and, the gameplay, and it kind of steered me into video games. So as I was studying animation, I really wanted to get into video games. But then when the opportunity came up to join Digital Domain, I took it because it was Digital Domain at the time was one of the biggest, still is. It's one of the more premier visual effects companies, and there's tons of amazing people that work there, really talented people, like genius level people, and it was really nice to be around them because the company atmosphere was incredibly friendly at that time. It was really set up to be almost like this cool place to be at, and that's what it was. And over time, Jack and I developed this friendship, and I remember I was working on Tron, and actually we were both on Tron, and I kind of had a bug where I'm like, this is not enough for me, and I want to do more. So I started directing my own projects and just trying to jump into storytelling. And then in some, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, Jack was like illustrating his own books and writing his own books. And we just really started kind of, I think I hired Jack to help me with the script. And then we realized we worked really well together. And then I was really interested in his projects, one of them, the Daily Mobster. And there's a couple of other ones. We made a video game not too long ago off of his other IP that he has created called Pirates Boom Boom, but it's not available right now to play. It's a mobile game, but hopefully we'll make it available in February maybe, so people can play. It's kind of like a fun little shooting game. Um, and then we just kind of came together as co-creators, and I consider myself incredibly lucky to work with Jack and just to have this really great artistic relationship with a someone that I consider probably my one of my closest, if not the closest friend that I have. So I'm very lucky and humbled by the whole thing.
That's pretty awesome. I'm glad you said that. I was a little worried because when you said that it started your relationship with a little animosity, I'm not sure Jack realized that, the look on his face.
No, it's actually really, I don't know if I knew that extent of it, but the way that we met is actually not met, but the way he talks about being invited to my house. And even that was quite funny. I was friends with his desk mate, this guy, Andrew. And I had called his desk in our office, right? Like when we still had phones. It's funny. I actually don't have a phone at my office desk anymore. It's really strange. I called Andrew's desk and to invite him over, and he was like, "No, I'm busy." And Andrew's this kind of funny character, and he was like, "But Slavik's free," and he literally just handed. And I had never talked 2 words to Slavik, and he just put me on the spot, and I wasn't going to be like, "No," so I kind of just invited him, and it worked out.
It was really awkward. Actually, it was my phone because he wasn't picking up his phone, so he calls me on my phone, and I go, "Oh, here's Jack." Yeah, and he just kind of like, yeah, Slavik is doing nothing. And I'm like, you're right, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I just kind of, a couple of years in LA, I didn't have a car. My social life was, I think, World of Warcraft and pizza. That was the extent of it, or maybe way too long, quite honestly. But sure, I'm like, sure, I'll come by. And I'm so glad he did that, even though it was really awkward because if he didn't do that, there wouldn't be the Daily Mobster, maybe. I don't know.
It's pretty funny how something like that works out in the long run, right?
Yeah.
things you expect to last long don't, and the things that you don't usually do. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So I would love to talk about that transition from working on these huge IPs in Hollywood to then the Daily Mobster and working on this title.
Yes. So I still am in the industry. Like I said, I'm still at Netflix. So this has mostly been done on my free time. I did have a good break earlier this year that I put a lot of effort into this, and Slavik has transitioned full time onto this. But he mentioned, the bug, that he got this bug, and I was like, this isn't enough. And that kind of happened to me very early in my career. In no way was I like, my career's a mistake, but I realized, like, oh, there's going to be a little something missing here, and I need to figure out how to fill that creative void. And it was probably just my second or third project, and I just found myself needing to write and to draw, and because I was digital computer all day, right? And so I just came up with this idea and this was when blogs were very popular. So I started a WordPress blog, and the goal was I just came up with this theme. I said, I'm going to write and draw a mobster themed something every day. It obviously didn't become every day because that's an insane challenge, but it started kind of that way, but it really was more like once a week. And basically I would just design a character design, just whatever came to mind, whatever. Sometimes it was themed based off of other websites that I could kind of feed off of their drawing or challenge to get new audience, or just my own idea. And then I would write like a little story, like either a poem or a newspaper article or a mock kind of whatever. And I just started posting, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I ended up, I think, doing like 80 to 100 of them. There's quite a lot of them. I had a couple of guest artists, do it for me because I got friendly with other bloggers. It amassed a decent following for the time, and then it kind of just went dormant. And I just got busy with other stuff. And I think as Slavik and I had been kind of as we eventually joined partnerships, we were working on a script together, and then we were working on a TV series together, and then we were working on the video game. And then this is the one that kind of really got legs. We were lucky enough we were developing it on and off originally as a TV show. That's kind of where our wheelhouse is, right? Like in animation. So we had developed a pitch, and we did have some not successful, but some promising pitches. We had a contact at HBO and one at Lionsgate. We pitched somebody at Nickelodeon. Was it Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network? So like we made the rounds, but it was just kind of too big. And I think we were untrusted. We had no experience at the time really producing anything. And it kind of went dormant, and that's when we moved on to the video game. But then we found this again, and last year we were able to secure private funding from our executive producer, Mr. Roberto Esquivel. So thank him for pretty much making this possible. And we just went full steam, full head on this. We were like, we know what we would want this to be if it was a film or if it was an animation. And we have the skill set and the experience of working at really high level studios with really high level artists, and we don't want it to just actually, funny enough, I'm going to back up. Our original intention was to utilize sort of the previs mentality and kind of pump this out fast. We were like, we're going to put this out fast and and then as soon as we got into it, we're like, no, we have an opportunity to do something really cool and like push it. And so we abandoned that sort of fast model really quick. We'll talk about the process later. We do still utilize it to a large extent, but that's kind of how it began. I don't know, Slavik, do you have anything to add?
There was a time that I remember, like when I'm thinking about the first times when we started working on this, and actually I wasn't involved yet, but you were showing me these characters, and I'm like, I really like these characters. I like this character, this character, this character. So we'd be sitting together, and Jack wanted to let's say make like a newspaper with the characters and like give it like to the coffee shops and just place it there, right? Like for somebody to pick up. And we had all these ideas, and it was just very exciting to discuss all of that. And as we were moving forward, we thought about like comic book that had panels that were like almost like shots in a movie that were moving. And this property really kind of gets you excited and interested about like in getting to know it more. And it happened to me. And I think over time, as we said, okay, well, what can we do together, that we can do without money that doesn't, where money doesn't restrict us. So we said, okay, well, why don't we print these toys, to help pitch this? Why don't we, write an outline, a season, bring in the characters, and we started the process. And it was a very interesting one because this truly started as a, hey, I see this character and he makes me think of this. I
Mm-hmm.
look at that other character, he makes me think of that. And it started organically like that. There was no idea what this was going to be about, the themes,
Yeah.
story arcs, nothing. It was just literally, hey, this would be a cool character, for this, and it kind of developed organically from that, just from that, without us any pushing it in any direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual. The other projects I've written or worked on, that's very not how writing works generally, right? Like you have an idea for a plot or a cool hook or like an interesting element, or maybe there's a character that drives it. But this was unusual that it started as this blog and it was literally just like a lineup of characters that all kind of had their own little stories. And they were sort of written loosely in the same universe, but like I didn't pay any attention to a narrative because that wasn't my goal. So it was pretty unusual. It's kind of like walking into a casting office and just like picking the best people that you like, and then you're like, okay, and now we're gonna write a story about these. And it was really kind of weird at first. It was like, I don't know how we're gonna do this, because we did know that the strength of it was the characters and was the diversity and the odd shapes and the kind of just the large ensemble. And so we knew whatever it was that we did had to sort of emphasize the ensemble nature of the characters. And so, yeah, we kind of came up with this idea of this whole town that these different families and these different, which is, par for the course for this genre, but it was really kind of came together organically.
At a certain point, when the characters were kind of developed and you're looking at the characters, did the story start to come together pretty quickly, or was that another longer process?
My memory is foggy so we've been working on this. The first iteration of the script version of it was probably about 7, maybe even 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And that's when it was still more to be a TV show. Granted, a lot of that structure and skeleton is still here. The core of it is still here. So we kind of just, okay, well, what are the elements of a mobster story? And like, okay, we need to start assembling some families, and who do we like? Which design do we like the most? And this could be the head of that family. And then who should we put around them, or who is his brother, and all this kind of thing. And then we just kind of started to thread the narrative of like, then it became more like a regular writing process. It's like once you had those wheels in motion, it was kind of like, okay, now we're starting to see a story emerge. And the nice thing was we already had these really stable characters to kind of start to write the story for us. Like a lot of times it takes a really long time to get to that point, to really find your characters and have them. But like we almost had the opposite. It's like we had these characters with really strong voices, and we've been kind of trying to push them into a plot. So really that's been kind of the challenge, is to maintain these really iconic characters we've just had and then really fit them all together.
Well, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Slavik, Jack, you both have a lot of experience within live action movies. But I think, Jack, when I'm looking at your background, you have more on the animated side. Although you both have that experience, I think yours is more on the animator. You have more animated, I should say.
Yeah, we both have like animator credits, and we've both worked extensively in visual effects. And then we sort of branched, and I moved into, I don't even know what the animation, like not film anime, like just animation. And that's when Slavik kind of diverted and started doing previs and commercials and actually shooting live action. So yeah, I've spent a lot more time in the animated world. And once I moved to DreamWorks, I was very heavily involved with the writer's room and like consulting there and kind of how to produce how to translate a script to final image. And so that's really where I started gaining the kind of skill for this exact process, because we're actually following a studio pipeline. You know, like we write, we go through the breakdown, we decide what sets we need, you know, like we hire the talent to do it, we build the sets and the characters, we place them, we rent, you know, like it pretty much follows an animation pipeline, minus the movement animation part.
Yeah. Which one of you worked on Ben 10? I thought I saw that on one of yours as well. Was it Ben 10? No? With Joe Kelly? He had an animated series. I could have sworn it might have just been, who knows what I was reading, but you got credit for it on something that I saw. One of you did. Joe Kelly, who is actually writing Amazing Spider-Man right now, he has his own studio, and he's done the Nickelodeon show Ben 10.
Right.
So I thought that was on one of yours, but maybe I'm just dreaming. I don't know. Yeah. That's why I thought maybe you had known Joe Kelly, because he's big time in comics, and obviously he's made a lot of animated movies and stuff like that. And he works, I think, for Disney, and Big Hero is another one that he did for Disney. Was that Pixar?
Big Hero I'm aware of.
Yeah, Ben 10 is more of like young children. I think it was a Nickelodeon, but it's more young children. But it's like a superhero kid that has a band on his hand, and he could change it for different powers. I've never watched it, but I interviewed him, and it's quite, I mean, it won all kinds of awards. I'm not familiar with it, but I think it's for younger children. Either way, I'm getting off topic. I thought one of you had that on.
No.
I wonder where that is.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy, did you watch Madam Web?
I did. Yeah.
Because that's another film that it was Spider-Man and Madam Web almost like in the same year.
Oh,
did
really?
You like it?
It wasn't enough Madam Web. You know what I mean? It was. I think as a comic book fan, I think the expectations going in there is you would have saw these characters all to come together as their actual superhero character. And I think it was more of a foundational movie, kind of laying the foundation for who these characters are. And I think if it did well, they would have maybe moved on to more of the hero stuff. So I think it wasn't that it was bad. It just, it didn't, I think we were told it was going to be one thing, or we thought it was going to be one thing, and it ended up being something different. But, you know, I'm fans of all those actresses that worked on there, and they've done some amazing stuff. But I did watch it, and but I think that was, I think the biggest gripe for comic book fans was it wasn't until the very end of the movie that you saw some of them come into their actual uniform and character. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I definitely watched. I mean, I've watched all the stuff that you've been worked on, that both of you worked on, comic book related. Transformers. Gee, I'm a huge Transformers fan. I have 4 kids. They're all adults. None of them like comic books. I cannot get them to read a comic book. I've tried everything. And I know superheroes isn't for everything, but comic books, I mean, the Daily Mobster for one of them. There's amazing storylines that aren't superhero centric. Right? There's drama. There's horror. There's all kinds of stuff. And I've given them other titles that are just amazing. You don't have to like superhero. Nothing. But they watch every MCU movie with me. They love it. Right. Every DC movie, they love it. They just don't want no part of the comic books. I'm like, that's where it all came from. Right?
Yeah.
They could care less. So we've all watched X-Men. We've all watched, obviously Spider-Man was one of my favorite movies. That was incredible. But Transformers, G.I. Joe, I'm a big fan of G.I. Joe. I've been reading G.I. Joe since the 80s. As a 50-year-old. So those movies or those comic books had a huge impact growing up, and then to see them come to live action, I'm just giddy whenever I see it. So I watch anything Superman or superhero, I should say, related. I'm watching that movie. I don't care. I don't care what anybody tells me. I'm in it and I'm ready for it. So, but yeah, that to answer long-winded, I did see that movie. Yes.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that was an interesting time because I kind of returned back into films. I was working on commercials for about 10 years, and it's a very different world. And then I returned back to film, and then Digital Domain started getting all these action hero movies. Started with Free Guy actually, and Free Guy was
that was a fun movie.
Very pleasant experience, just very amazing film to work on because it was kind of fun. It didn't take itself too seriously. It was a lot of fun, and it allowed for like a lot of freedom of what can happen type of thing, where I think some of the other, more established franchises, they were a bit more controlled as to like what the superhero can do or the character can do, and it was a lot more constricting. But Free Guy was, I at that time I was having such a blast that the day would be over and I'd be like, ah, damn it, it's time to go home. Well, like I would have such a great time on it, and then I was working on all these other films and I realized, Free Guy was a very unique experience. I only have about maybe two or three of those in my career in about 20 years. There are films that are so much fun to be on and work on, and they're actually like pretty good films.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Electric State is the last one that got
Oh
released,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
I haven't seen it, but it
Chris
was
Pratt.
also kind of fun to work on it. Yeah.
Yeah, Free Guy. I've seen it at least a couple of times. I love that movie. It's hilarious. Of course,
Yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
Reynolds is amazing. I just look at him and I laugh. He just has this
Yeah.
unique comedic timing, and obviously, you don't want to get into a tit for tat with him. I think he's pretty quick witted. He could probably come. At least all of his characters are that way, so I feel like he could be pretty funny. But you know what? I don't know if you watched the show Wrexham with them owning the football club and.
Yeah, I saw that. I
I
heard it.
know about it, but I didn't see it.
So I'm obviously him being in Hollywood. He's taken this purchase, which was millions of dollars, and turned it into almost a $500 million football club in Wales. They're one step away from the Premier League. They just made the Champions League, all the way from not even being in the Champions. So like the success they've had has been crazy. And of course, you turn that into a TV show, like you would expect someone like him to do, and it's a pretty popular
Well, I
show.
see his Mint Mobile commercials all the time, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is. They're really fun because they're really simple, and it almost seems like he just kind of comes up with random stuff and then says, "Okay, that's what we're gonna do." But they pop up so often. It's actually nice to see all this kind of silliness going on with him. So yeah, that's where I see him the most.
Yeah. So
He wants me
out of
to
all
subscribe
the
to Mint
things that you've
Mobile.
worked on, Slavic, Free Guy is probably your favorite that you've worked on?
It was one of the most uh, challenging, but also very openly creative films. I would say probably is Free Guy. I really loved working on the
Hmm.
Mummy 3. So
That
Jack and
was
I
a
were
fun
both in
one. We
there.
worked on that one together. That
It was
was a fun.
it was a really fun show because
Yeah,
the director on that movie, Rob Cohen, right?
yeah, he's wild.
He was a very interesting, he was like a kind of like a Hollywood personality where you watch these shows about these, Hollywood types, and he was one, but he was also very,
But he
um,
wasn't. He wasn't terrible. Like he was kind of really personable and funny and like,
he was really great towards the artist. He was very appreciative. He
but just
involved the artists a lot, but
outlandish personality.
but he
Which
was
is
just, yeah, like, unhinged. He would come in and what was the story? Like somebody called him while we were like in dailies reviewing stuff, and he's like cursing them out, like saying like, "Studio told me to do this." I said, "F them," like, fuck them. And this is like, with everybody. I mean, I wasn't there, but I've heard stories, and he's kind of like a legend in some ways. But he made the project for us so much fun to work on. So that would be another one. Tron was fun. I mean, they're all fun in their own different ways. But some of them really stand out, and you kind of look
yeah,
back and you realize, okay, that was a really great time in my career that I probably didn't appreciate at that time as much as I should have.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Jack? Do you have a favorite outside of those two, or at least the one you worked with, Slavic on? Anyone that
um,
you find particularly
yeah.
fun?
I would say Mummy 3's in there for sure. That was a good time. The one I just rolled off, Twits, was one of. It's unfortunately not doing great on the platform, but it was just amazing to work on. It was a really really group of uh, good group of creatives. The director Phil Johnston's amazing. I learned so much from him. He's from Disney. He did like Wreck It Ralph and Zootopia. So like he's one of these legend guys, but similar, like a funny, hilarious, outlandish personality, but just like the sweetest guy. And I learned so much from him. So probably that one. And then when I first got to DreamWorks, I worked on this show that like nobody had ever heard of and nobody cared about until it came out, called Spirit Riding Free, which was for like young kids.
The one about the horse?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It
my
was
daughters
yeah.
love.
So that's what I was gonna say. Is like
Oh,
anybody with a daughter or a kid under like 10
yeah,
knows
they
this show.
love it. We've watched that
And
a
it,
bazillion times.
yeah, and it was like number one on Netflix for a really long time. Kind of this real unexpected hit, which once it became a hit, it suddenly became not as fun to work on because then there was a lot more eyes on it and more people. But the first two seasons, like we were just kind of the little project in the corner that nobody cared about, kind of low budget. And it was a really good group of people. That's where I got my first directing gig. Like I directed some of the episodes and like, you know, I was in the writer's room and like it just gave me such an amazing, like holistic view of the process. So probably those two. Yeah.
Those are good ones to enjoy. My buddy Will, he's very forward. I'll be the bad cop. I hated Madam Web, but I love the Transformers. So thank you, Will, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Now, I will say, people that disliked any kind of a comic movie where it didn't match the comics, it's usually older guys that look like me. But I would tell you, my daughters enjoyed it because they don't have the background that we have coming into it. So I think that's a big part of it as well for any kind of superhero movie. So if you're doing a superhero movie and it doesn't do well, and it's probably because it didn't really match the comics. There was a lot of liberty taken to change who that character was in the comics. So older folks like me and others who, grew up reading the comics were probably like, that's not that comic. Right? That's not that character. So that's unfortunate because, and that's why I don't really do reviews on stuff, because something that I dislike, I find that the younger audience that watches me do like it. And I don't want to stop anybody else from enjoying something just because I didn't. So I just don't really get into that much because I don't think that's fair to give a bad review when someone else might enjoy it. Maybe it just wasn't done for me. So anyways, if that helps at all, but yeah.
Fair enough. I think that's a really nice way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, my daughters will tell me like, how did you not like that? I'm like, well, I read the comics for 20 years. That's why. So anyways, so you guys have these amazing experience in Hollywood working on film and on animation. And now you've taken all that experience and put it into this title. And I'm telling you, you open up that issue 1 and it does feel like you're watching a movie. The art is absolutely incredible. So I'm going to try and bring it up real quick because it's right now, as of January 1st, the first issue is available for everyone to read. So I'm going to put this link in the chat right here. I also have it in the show notes below. But check it out. Like, I think you're going to be blown away by the visuals of it. And of course, the storyline is absolutely incredible. It starts right off with newspaper and it kind of sets the tone for what's going on, which you're like, damn, this title is not going to play around. Let me pull it up real quick right here so everyone can see it. So when you do go there, you'll go to the homepage and you just want to come up to here. I think it's chapters, and you'll be able to hit the read now button and issue 1 will pop up. This is scene 1, the man with the hat, called The Price of Life. And like I said, I was reading this newspaper. I would have loved to walk into a coffee shop and see one of these. I would think I would be blown away, but this is taking place in the early 1900s, 1918, 1920 time frame. And I absolutely love that time frame. So if any kind of movie is made, I don't care what it is within that timeline, I always have dreams of going back. I just want to spend one day there. I want to go to Yankee Stadium and see the Yankees play Boston or the Cincinnati Reds or something like that. I think it would be so awesome with the top hat and a cigar, betting on baseball. I just think that would be so fun. But every time I read something like this, I'm absolutely... So you got me just with the newspapers alone before we even get into the story.
Awesome.
You can see right away, it jumps into some pretty heavy stuff right here. And even a child, which I was like, wow.
Yeah, we hit you right off the bat. Yeah, that was obviously intentional. It is in the broad scope of things, it is still a dark comedy. There is a lot of silliness and kind of, it does not take itself seriously in the parts that don't need to, but the core of the story it's heavy. It's a noir, it's a mobster thing, and those are generally pretty dark. Yeah, obviously we got to be careful with spoilers and stuff, and some, but yeah, the kind of core story here, it all begins with this man we prep it with these newspaper articles, effectively saying, hey, this is the town of Port Noir, and it is just cursed with this history of violence. They just can't seem to break out of it. And like you said, we present you with this article. Hey, it's kind of hitting a tipping point when a small child is killed in kind of a bystanding shootout. And then we immediately jump some years forward, and we present you with a scene, kind of your classic choice at the crossroads of the father of this girl. And he's just been stricken by grief for the past 10, 12 years. And he has met, now this is where it gets a little fun and like unusual for a mobster noir. There's a supernatural aspect, and we play with other genres. We blend and we kind of dance around and see, because it's animated and it's, why not, right? Like that's the medium, like you should be able to. So immediately you're kind of hit with this classic hard-boiled character, you know, a guy in a fedora and a trench coat, and he's all rumpled and he's clearly had a hard life. But then we kind of flip it on its head right away, and he meets with this mysterious figure at the train tracks, and they make this kind of supernatural deal. And it's dark. It is. It starts with. I mean, I don't know if I should even say it, if you just let people read it. But basically, he's offered an impossible choice to see his daughter once again or become a murderer, and that's kind of what spins it off, sets it off. Yeah, I mean, so we throw you right into it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you jump right in. It captured me immediately. And I could say if you read chapter 1, you're going to be dying for the next chapters of this, because it does leave you in that place of wanting more. And I feel like the visuals are absolutely stunning. I can't think of another graphic novel or comic that has this style of art. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Anybody in the chat, if you know of something similar, let us know. But I feel like the experience you both have that you're bringing into this story with some of the things that you've done in the past, I assume played a major role in the visuals of how this would look. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that? And then I would love to understand a little bit more of how this art style comes to life.
So yeah, I think Jack and myself, we kind of had this fork in our career paths, right? Where I was focusing more on live action, Jack was animating, he was writing more, and I can genuinely say that I feel like this project utilizes our maximum potential, because every frame, every time we're writing the text, telling the story, where we're placing the text is really part of that whole experience of you being drawn in and you just really being in that world without it moving, right? I think the way that I'm imagining it is that the frames are giving you prompts for your mind to to connect and to be in. And we work in a virtual world with Maya and Redshift, and the great thing now that we didn't have maybe 6, 7 years ago. I don't know exactly when, is the computing power of a laptop or computer, the GPU power is strong enough where we're almost able to see things live, like right away, right? We're able to light the scene, move characters, and it really gives us freedom to us to be able to explore the virtual set. And like a lot of times you listen to interviews from directors and actors, and they're talking about this on-set magic, and you go, oh, okay, well, kind of like, what is that? And it's true, there is this on-set magic that happens because you get to the set and you're starting to get inspired, right? Everybody on the crew, whether it's a director, an actor, whoever else, a director of photography, a gaffer, uh, they're looking around and it's inspiring them, right? And then with that inspiration they start doing the directing process, and everybody's contributing. And I really felt like one of the most fun things about doing this is that we're able to like explore the virtual set, and we're able to look for things that a lot of times maybe we didn't even imagine or couldn't even have foreseen, but now they're here and we kind of say, oh, look at this, what can we do with this for this character or this character? And it really almost becomes like this kind of magical process, and a very, very fun one. And um, I really like how when we first started, we didn't even really know what it was going to be. We said, okay, let's try, doing one frame, and how we're going to put it together. And we really started from scratch in terms of really understanding the language of this process.
Mhm.
And the cool thing is that, I have my vision, Jack has his vision, but ultimately we kind of combine those visions, but I don't feel like we ever compromise. I don't feel like we ever say, well, okay, we're going to do this your way, and I'm going to take a step back. There's always this cohesion that's going on, that I can look into every frame and I can say both my input and Jack's input are here, and you can see it, and it stays, throughout the rest of the frames and the rest of the story. And I really like that, because that cohesion is very, very hard to get, working with somebody else. I don't
Amazing.
know if you feel the same way, Jack,
Yeah.
but I
Let
hope
me call
so.
Andrew. Let me call Andrew and see what he
Yeah,
thinks.
call
No,
Andy.
yeah. It's been a really. I mean, the collaborative process has been amazing, and I think having a partner you work well with and kind of speak the same language in a shorthand is incredibly beneficial. It's why so many creatives have partners that they work with long term, right? Like it is wildly beneficial. But we also kind of share a lot of similar skill sets, so we can kind of complement each other, and yet we do have different strengths. Like I do a lot of the design work. All the characters are based off my designs. I do a lot of the texture work myself. I paint the clothes and the skin and like all that. But like Slavik's much more on the DP and filmic side and the lighting. And so like there are aspects where we sort of complement each other. Um, yeah, and to his point, like we didn't even know what it was going to be. We approached this. We had my original drawings, but they're 2D and they're very kind of cartoony, exaggerated. And so when we started writing this, we really wrote it in a very traditional sense on the page with kind of no real understanding of what it might ultimately look like. It was all just kind of in our heads, and I'm sure we all had different ideas of what it was ultimately going to look like. And then a really strong and prominent shift happened when we started producing images. And this was somewhat by design. Like we knew that once we were going to be producing images, that we had this real-time renderer. We both had previs experience. We could iterate fairly quickly. We could explore in the scene. So we knew that we were going to like kind of move through that process fairly quickly. But what we didn't anticipate was how much the story was going to ask to be changed once we were in the scene. Most traditionalists, it's kind of like, no, I write the script and then you're going to follow it, and that's kind of how it usually is, even whether it's comic books or whether it's in film. And we're in this really unique and unusual thing, partially because we're a small team and we can pivot and move quickly, and our choices don't impact a lot of people other than ourselves. But because we're the ones that are doing the writing and the illustration, like we know what the ultimate goal is going to be. So what happened was, as soon as we got in the scenes and started laying things out and seeing how it felt and seeing what didn't really work visually, it worked on the page fine, but it like suddenly broke or just didn't feel right visually. We could kind of rewrite as we were doing like live, and it was kind of easy-ish. Like, yeah, obviously we've had our big rewrites that were very challenging, but like a lot of this, especially now that we're a few chapters in and continuing to do this and kind of hone the skill set, our scripts are much leaner. They aren't as thought out and kind of like, well, this has to happen, because it's like that might explode once we get all the characters in there and have the set, or we might just have a whole new idea that tells this beat better. So that to me was kind of the most surprising, and it is exactly what Slavik's describing. It's like it is a little bit like walking on set, and then you just have this flood of ideas, and you're like, whoa, that looks totally different, or that's a really cool set piece. And should we feature it because it's cool, or does it actually, wow, that actually tells a better story than just the dialogue, right? We find all these really interesting little Easter eggs and finds as we're building. And then on top of it, because we're lean and we're building a lot of the assets ourselves, we can start production as soon as we have the bare minimum. Like we can have like a little cheesy grayscale model like you've seen in all the making ofs, and we can have some cubes, and we can start blocking out a scene, and that will tell us, okay, we need this asset, we need a car, we need this, but we don't need that, that, and that because we never shoot that way. You know, it's a really kind of organic and fun way of working. It feels very kind of just grab whatever's in the toolbox as you need as you need it.
And it really, I think, helps us to work on the story. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt like I know you mentioned the visuals quite a few times, and I'm very grateful. Thank you. We're doing our best, but
Yeah.
I'm so proud of the story because sometimes I even read the story and I go, I don't think I could have. This is not me. I don't think I could have came up with this yet. We have together, you know, and I feel like the story is actually one of, you know, the strongest thing about this property. We're very excited about it, and I think the interesting thing is that I don't think we could have written the story about 7, 8 years ago when we were trying to before. I think
No.
really you know, we're now like in our 40s. It took some maturing on our end, you know, from the 30s to the 40s for us to kind of have a better grasp of these concepts and have a better grasp of how to explore these concepts. Because essentially, you know, we're saying, okay, well, you know, this is a mobster graphic novel, and you know, we have the violence, we have the personalities, we have this and that, and spinning that into, you know, what is the price of life, you know, this kind of the supernatural aspect, um, gives us a very interesting perspective on life because now, you know, what would a character do to bring themselves back or somebody else back? You know, it opens up this whole new way of thinking about the mobster warfare. Like, you know, it just it breaks the genre quite a bit. And now that we're a bit older and we had really a long time to think about this because some of the scenes we were doing last year, we had in our heads for 7, 8 years, and you know now we're looking at it and we're going, I think I imagined this for 7, 8 years. That's what it looks like, or like, nope, I imagine this totally differently, and it's just such a mind blowing experience to finally see what you had in your head on a screen and be able to show to somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful it kind of like came about at this time where we were a bit more mature and we could really take on the subject, but also uh, do it in a not so serious way as well. Like it's both
Yeah.
serious and we have these comedic elements
Yeah.
that are thrown into here where, you know, we really want to make you laugh while you're crying. I mean, that's really our goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So,
life is kind of absurd if you really think about it. Like
That's for sure.
there's so many aspects of it that we just as people and humans can't not only can't answer but can't even comprehend. And so it is both tragic and funny. And so it's, you know, it's a very tragic, dark story at its core, but there's so much weirdness, and because life is like that. Like someone could be dying over there, meanwhile the most funniest thing or the best thing is happening to the person over there, right? um yeah, and to Slavik's point, like I don't think we could have written this when we first I mean, I even look back at kind of the original pitch package, and it was so much simpler and kind of a sitcom almost. Like it didn't have a weight and a heart to it. And yeah, to really start to explore some of these difficult questions, and you know, in order to, as writers out there, those listening know, it's like to get in the heads of these characters, like you have to ask yourself some pretty serious questions and kind of like, well, how would I do that, or how would this person, not only how would I do this, but if I had the set of circumstances that this character had, then how would I do, right? Like there's a lot of empathy in this. And the mob genre in general is so, one thing I personally am very much, it's not like my personal mission, but I don't want this story to become that, is just disposable life. So much
Mhm.
of comic books and movies, and especially the mob genre, is just like shooting bullets everywhere, and whoever dies, it doesn't really matter. It's all about your heroes. And it's like, that's not really how the world works.
Yeah.
And each death here has an impact. And in fact, it's something we struggled with for quite a while, because in the first couple of issues, I kept commenting. I was like, for being a mob thing, we don't have a lot of like murdering and shootouts. Like they are there, but like it's not every scene. It's not like over the top, you know, actiony or mob shooting. But it's kind of, that is what this is, and it's kind of saying like when people die, it matters and it has impact. And like, and to me, it feels like we've worked really hard to kind of build the stakes for these characters. That when stuff happens, it happens. And to Slavik's point, yeah, the very first issue is titled "The Price of Life," and we kind of play with that theme through the whole thing. It's kind of not just how far would you go for life, but how far would you go to get anything that you want, right? And people do. People in our world go to great lengths, sometimes very disturbing lengths, to get some random thing that they want. So it's been really fun, sometimes dark to explore. But yeah, and then we just pop random comedy, and we have some like really absurd characters that just don't take it seriously at all.
Yeah.
And I hope we've been able to kind of maneuver in and out, you know, effortlessly, that it's not super jarring. Because there's been moments where, like, we were just talking about one today where we wanted to add this joke at a kind of important moment for one of our characters, and we were both dying laughing about it, and we tried putting it in, and we're just like, no, here it ruins the moment. We shouldn't do that. So yeah, you kind of lull them with comedy, and then you hit them with the tragedy.
I love kind of that emotional roller coaster, though. I think that's really important, because you do kind of get relief from the grief at times when it's needed. But it is pretty heavy, especially at the very beginning. I can't, like, we've all lost people that we care about. I've never lost a child. I don't even want to think about what that kind of experience would be. I just can't imagine too many things worse than that. And if you were in that situation where you did lose a child, what are you willing to do in order to have one more moment with that child? And there's like this moral compass that you have to kind of look at and decide where you want to kind of place your life moving forward in order to have that experience one more time. And I'm not sure I'm strong enough to be personally, if that is offered to me, not to take that opportunity myself. Right. And so I think the book causes you to have those kind of questions, which already shows that there's a lot of depth in this book, mixed in with the relief that's needed to overcome the trauma the drama that you just experienced throughout the title. And I think it's a very good balance between the two. So congratulations on that. I think it's awesome. In fact, Andrew here said those are the sort of questions that get your audience thinking, which is great. And I couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. It's yeah, it is very much about bending moral compass, and we push our characters. We put them in situations that I think we're all, as humans, like we think we see the world in a very rigid way, and that we are unbending in our resolutions and our beliefs. And then yeah, you're put in some challenging situations, and you will bend. We all do it. We bend our logic. We bend our morals. We justify. We deny. All sorts of things. So there's a lot of that. Pretty much all the characters kind of get presented with that at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite character that's been developed for this story that's within issue 1 or scene 1, so we don't spoil too much, because I know characters are coming up? Is there one in like that first scene that you have gravitated to a little bit more than others?
Go for it, Slavik.
Well, if you click on the characters page, so what we'd like to do with our readers is to release the characters and kind of explore them outside of the comic book a little bit. I would say my favorite is probably the Wall, which is the character on the bottom left, and that's kind of the one that actually grabbed my attention a long time ago. So yeah, it's the one that's in this. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So the Wall to me is a character that asks a lot of questions, like how is this even possible? How did he grow up?
He captures the absurdity of this world. Yeah,
he's just he's as serious as he's funny, and I really like him. But what I think I really enjoy about him is that even though he's a very menacing force, just visually, the way that we are writing him and the way we're developing him is that he, he's kind of like their bartender. He's like a bodyguard bartender in the beginning, and making the finest drinks, teas, and um, having a fine taste for, those kinds of things, the finer things in life. And we're not witnessing his menacing power as a character yet. And it slowly, as the story goes on, we see more and more of that. And I really like that arc that we're able to achieve with these characters. It's because it's so much fun to just explore them. And he's a character that kind of says a lot and asks a lot of questions at the same time.
Yeah.
And he's just really fun to explore. So I would say he would be my favorite. Um, but I'm a fan of,
Yeah,
that's how I got here. I've
Yeah.
been a fan for a long time.
I would say the wall is, I mean, he's so unique and bizarre. But I'm actually gonna say, so Judge Wong,
Uh,
he was not part of the original blog. He was written for this story. So in a way, he kind of got to arrive to the scene without the baggage of like, this is what this character was, and we really got to formulate him. He's been really fun to write. And oddly, he is one of our most moral characters. But he's such a curmudgeon and kind of has these terrible kind of cranky lines, which are just such a joy to write. He becomes quite a bit more pivotal going forward. I won't spoil it for the readers, but his arc has been really fun to read. And he too is also kind of pushed right away in episode 1, but again later, pushed, his morals are questioned. And yeah, it's fun to write these characters that are actually hateable but are totally right.
Yeah.
They're like, it's a really kind of fun type of character. I have randomly just fallen in love with him a lot. He's really cool. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like them all in their own way. That's the cop-out answer, but
I mean, Mother Superior is pretty unique as well.
I went to Catholic school. I had nuns all the way through high school.
Did you? Yeah.
They never beat me. I was in the 80s and 90s, so that tradition was over. But there were some cruel ones, and it was it was a thing.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, the character, obviously Baron at the beginning is really cool. But yeah, really amazing character development as well. And I cannot wait for fans that check this out to really fall in love. And I would love, after they read this, I would love to have you back when more like
cool.
another issue is there. And let's get all the folks that are listening right now to come back. I would love to know the character that you gravitate to the most throughout this series. I think that's always really fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun once we have 2 or 3 out and we can kind of discuss the story in bigger, broader terms. Yeah, it'd be fun to hear what people are thinking.
Absolutely. Now, will there be physical media with this title as well?
Yeah. Sorry, you want to
go? Yes, we're really planning to release the physical prints. We know that some people don't like the digital experience, and there is a kind of like a tactile feel to the whole thing, to the the characters and just how we're doing things anyway. So absolutely. We also would like to do toys. Right now we have giveaways. So just so everybody knows, this is a free to read comic book digitally. We will release every month. Planning to until we are not able to do so, but we'll try to release every month or every 2 months to just keep up the consistency. And we're working on this full time. So please expect more chapters. We already have 4 written. So every month we will have a monthly prize of these are the characters from episode 2, Timmy and Tony, which are these. I think some more my favorite characters.
If you had asked if you had asked your question about all the probably these guys, they were such a surprise and fun to write.
Yes. So every month, our readers will be entered into the sweepstakes, and we'll print one. Via the donation page, you can increase your chances. So we just decided, hey, let's make this digital graphic novel to be available for free,
Mhm.
but we would love to, have the donate model be available to the readers so they can become a part of this project. So depending on how much you donate, you can, win special things, increase your odds. And then the last two tiers are, kind of a lot on in terms of our monetary ask, but you can actually become a producer on this. So we will print your name in the, in the comic book as we, they're getting printed as we're releasing new and new issues. We really want this to feel like, a family where our readers become, ingrained into the, the Daily Mobster universe, and in the books and the digital online version. We really want to kind of create that bond because we feel like the old model of we want everybody to read, quite honestly, and I think the old model of asking for money here and there, we think we can do better, and I think we want to show that we are appreciative of our fans and people that like this, and we want them to come on board. So once we're able to create the maquettes in a more quicker manner, we'll have them available as toys and collectibles.
Mhm.
But because it's the two of us right now, we kind of have to be, very strategic with our releases, and the physical copies will be the next thing we'll be focusing on. And then after that, we'll do, the toys, merchandise, T-shirts, things like that. And also at some point we'll get into NFTs where you're able to collect our collections of characters, and that will also support the comic book. So um, yeah, we're excited, and we hope that people that see this give it a chance. We're working very hard not to disappoint.
Oh, understood. Understood. And so you just click the donate button up here to donate, and you're automatically
There-
in.
There's a bunch, yeah, there's a bunch of different places you can either, there's the prompts there.
Mhm.
But if you want a specific tier, you can check out what they offer. It's very similar to
Okay.
Patreon, like folks that are familiar with that, or even a Kickstarter, although this is not a Kickstarter because it already exists.
Yeah.
So we're sort of, it's a bit of an honor system. It's like, hey, we're giving you this for free. We really do want the world to have access to our story. We're really proud of it. And if you like what you're reading, then, we don't want to tell you how much it costs. If you think it's only worth 50 cents, then give us 50 cents. If you think it's really worth a lot, great. Or if you want to kind of come on board and become a producer, we have effectively a method to do that. And we're trying to support it with really cool and interesting giveaways. And right now, because it is such a small indie team, everything is unique and handmade and rare. Like, you're not getting kind of mass produced stuff. So hopefully when we grow, having those, being an early adopter and having some of those early collectibles will be something.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. Now, I know you're both coming from the experience on the Hollywood into the comic, but I feel like this title could also go back. I
Yes.
could really see like an animated series of this just because the artwork and the
Yeah.
storyline would fit perfect, I think, in animation. And some of the most popular things that have been developed have actually been on the animated side as opposed to the live action, at least over the last year and a half. If you look at what Robert Kirkman and Skybound has done with Invincible, I don't know if you're familiar with that, over on Prime on Amazon, like it's mega blown up, right? And I was very happy because I was an early adopter of that comic. I have every single issue, and they're all like the first 30 are worth tons of money now because of the TV show and the popularity. I would love like get early adopter here, see you go over on that side and take these storylines and put it into an animated either a film or a series or something. I think that would be amazing.
That's definitely still part of the broad vision. I mean, obviously, since we're in that world and we're in the industry, we are hoping that can, the connections can kind of play out. Animation is very expensive and timely, and the visual vision that we have for this is kind of top tier. We did some early tests of just slight movement, and it just doesn't do it justice unless it's like done, properly polished. So we would want to get it like top tier studio involved. But that's also part of why we broke off and did it ourselves, because we want to get like you said, a lot of this stuff starts at the comic first.
Yeah.
And we wanted to get our vision, our truth of this story out first without the studio kind of input and a lot of extra voices. So we're hoping to get that solidified and build the traction and then go there. But
that would be phenomenal. I would definitely be jumping all over that. And there's a lot of opportunities, everyone here, for, almost nothing, especially, a patron to get jumped right in, to help make this a reality. I'll share, you go to the site, but I'll share the donate page too, if you would like to jump in, because I think that would be amazing. Absolutely incredible, though. This was a lot of fun, gentlemen. I had a blast reading it. What's that?
Awesome. I said, thank you so much. Awesome to hear.
Yes,
no, it was incredible. Yeah. You could see when you say that this has been a project you've been working on for 8 years or so, when you start to look at it and read it, you could tell a lot of time has gone into. It would be really interesting to see kind of the first iterations of where you were and where you are today, to see the differences. But my assumption is over that time, there's been a lot of different iterations until you got to this final one. And congratulations. I felt it as I was reading. I was like, wow, this is pretty fun. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we hope to keep going.
Yeah.
And then you got do you have merchandise yet? Oh, okay. This is the coming
so
soon.
Yeah, the print books are pre-order. They're being formatted and ready to print right now. And actually, that you brought that up, that is sort of a question. It's on our FAQ page, but why should I bother to buy a print version when it's here for free? You don't have to. But for a lot of us that are, personally, I want this printed. I was like, to thumb through this and have it. It's so cool. But to what you just brought up, you just talked about the making of and the behind the scenes. So the print version is going to have a lot of extra exclusive content, little snippets from the script, sort of show our script process, all these original drawings and how we got here. So that alone would be kind of cool and beneficial to gain access to as well.
Absolutely. Was there ever a thought of taking at least the print version to Kickstarter to get it going, or was it always going to be off your own site?
That's still in the cards.
Yeah.
We have thought about potentially almost as a marketing tool to get the momentum behind it. But
absolutely,
the nice thing is the product already exists. You can already read it. So there's a lot of times the fear on Kickstarter or Patreon is I'm going to pay and then I'm never going to get anything, right?
Yeah.
But we've already proven, here it is. Come see if you like it.
I think that will help on Kickstarter too, make it even more successful, because they can see that there is a finished product, and there is quite a large group that do prefer, having it in your hand as opposed to reading it digitally. I do both because I read a lot of comic books and I can't afford to buy 60 comic books at $5 to $10 a piece every week. So I do read a lot on the DC and the Marvel app and all that good stuff. But yeah, it would be amazing to have this. Yeah, no, I agree, man. You guys are awesome, man.
And just one comment, because you commented on 5 to 10 per issue. So you come to our site and you say 25. That might seem like a lot, but I don't know if you noticed when you're reading, these are hefty. An issue is going to be 120 print pages. So these aren't just little,
No, 20, if you go to Kickstarter and you see a comic with between 60 and 100 pages, they're all from $25 to $35. Yeah. So I feel like you're priced exactly where it needs to be. So I don't think there's going to be any shock value at all. And then on Kickstarter, you could do all kinds of unique things that I think is a little bit harder to do off of a website. Just because Kickstarter is built for that. So you have different tiers of, reaching certain goals where you could add, whatever, some of the merchandise that maybe you've all been talking about producing for the Daily Mobster. It would be really cool to get one of those newspapers at the very beginning of chapter 1. That would be really neat to have
that's a cool giveaway.
5 or 6 pages of just storylines that are taken from the issues. I think that would be a lot of fun too. There's all kinds of cool things. And a lot of us, maybe you've done Kickstarters before, but a lot of us have done Kickstarters. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people that would help you with that too, if you ever wanted ideas, because it could be a lot of fun to get everybody involved too, as to what they want to see on the Kickstarter. The more engagement, the better. That's just usually how it goes. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible, gentlemen.
Well,
This
thank
is
you.
awesome,
Thank
man.
you.
I'm so glad that you reached out with this. Like you said, there is issue 1, which you can read on the site right now. You have issue 2, 3, and 4 coming. So you already have kind of that
Yeah,
cover.
the promise is there. It's not, you're not going to get one and then never hear from us again.
Well, it sounds like you're quite a few issues ahead too, whether
Yeah.
they're ready to be put on the site or not. Do you have an idea, or you're able to kind of talk about what issue you're currently writing now?
We're currently producing visually issue 5, which is why there's no imagery here for it. But writing wise and outline wise, like we're pretty far ahead. Like we know the end. We know the end game. We know kind of where the big points are going to be. Yeah.
So there could be more than 9 chapters.
There will be. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Slavik, do you want to say what we're thinking right now, or just kind of?
I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw your video froze, but we can hear you.
My camera went out, but I'm still here. Yeah, so we're thinking about 24, maybe
Yeah, probably
30.
24, 25 issues total.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then we have plans to do offshoots with characters that are interesting, that we want to know more about, but kind of take some time off from the story or appear, disappear, and we want to explore their journeys. So it's going to be like a bit of a branch of the whole world kind of coming together.
Yeah.
So, but I think we have to finish the main story first and go from there, and that's right now the focus. So.
Yeah, we really want to promise a satisfying ending. We don't want just like a never-ending series of comics, right? So we want to ensure this is a closed story, but as you've seen, there's so much opportunity to expand kind of tangentially. So
yeah,
if this does well, we'll have a lot of fun with all that. And it doesn't even have to be mobster themed. Like some of our characters could branch off and be like this other weird genre that, or maybe not even black and white, and not even like it's kind of this. So
I think you're committed to the wall already, though.
Yeah, the wall. He at least needs a single issue of
what. He needs a one shot, just kind of a little background and a little bit more.
What's the wall do? What does he do every day? Yeah, how does he? Is that his suit or is that his body? What does he do?
Well, this is awesome. I am so happy that you all reached out and that I've been exposed to it. I really appreciate being able to get a sneak peek of everything that you're working on. So we want to protect that so that fans can be surprised. But I could tell you, being able to read, a chapter or two or, whatever ahead, you're in for a big surprise with this title. So trust me, get in early, get over there and donate. I mean, you could start off with $1.
Anything helps. Yeah.
Or you could jump in at $25 and you could say that you're a gangster. I mean, I think everybody deep right wants to be known as a gangster without having to do any of the evil stuff to get that title. So you could get it right here just by donating $25. You can tell everybody you're a gangster, and then they're going to ask you, what does that mean? And then you could talk about this title. But agree, Andrew, agree. Yeah. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending some time with me. And I certainly, maybe in February or March, as another issue or two come out, I would love to have you back on. Maybe by then you'll have a little bit more information on the physical and what you might do on Kickstarter, and we could kind of talk about that. And if you do a Kickstarter, would love to have you for that, so we could get that message out to as many people as possible. I think that would be a lot of fun. But congratulations on what you've produced so far. It's amazing. And
thank you.
I'm really happy to get to know you.
Thanks so much, Tommy. Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you for having us, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for everybody listening, and we'll see you on the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Get over there and donate, man. Starts at $1. Everybody can afford $1. So hang tight, gentlemen. All right, everyone in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Monday. Hope you guys all have a blessed week, and we will talk soon. Appreciate you all.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.